The image you see on the screen is a cut and paste from a Back to Godhead article about Jiva Goswami. The title of the Back to God article was "The Greatest Scholar and Philosopher." I had an understanding that Tamahar Prabhu would be giving an overall introduction to Jiva Goswami, so I don't have to do that. Although there's so many nice things to say. And the topic of the sandarbhas, here's an additional detail about Jiva Goswami. It is said about Jiva Goswami that he composed his writings, 400,000 verses, it's initially in his mind. He had that kind of didactic memory that he could compose something and then later write it down. So Rupa Goswami did something quite similar with Lalita Madhava and Didagda Madhava. He composed those two literatures in his mind and then later wrote them down. But, the capacity of the Goswamis and these most elevated Vaishnavas is they didn't have a computer. They had memories. And they didn't have to, edit. It just once written, that's it. Now, Rupa Goswami made requests. Sanatana Goswami made requests of Jiva Goswami to edit things that they had written if Jiva Goswami found some better way to state something or something like that. So there was some editing going on, but this is the type of acumen that these great acharyas had, Jiva Goswami being one of them. And I decided, rather than covering multiple, I'm just going to take part of one Anucheda, number 141. And the heading of that Anucheda, this is not Jiva Goswami's writing, it's a commentator's summary. Bhakti alone causes Bhagavan to bestow rati upon his devotees, or his devotee. So that's the headline, that's the banner. I'll say it again, because the next line that comes right in the commentary is, it says it the other way around. So please note, I'll go back and forth so you can catch the distinction. Bhakti causes Bhagavan to bestow rati. Now, rati is a word that's used by our acharyas that's synonymous with bhava, so bhava bhakti and rati, one-to-one exchange of meaning. Bhakti alone, one more time. Bhakti alone causes Bhagavan to bestow. So Bhagavan bestows rati upon the devotee. And then conversely, Bhakti bestows rati for Bhagavan. Let's do that one again. Bhakti alone causes Bhagavan to bestow rati. So who bestows what? So it's connected with how does bhakti begin. So bhakti begins by receiving bhakti from a bhakta. With a seed from someone who's carrying bhakti, they can bestow the seed. And the seed grows, and the seed grows, and the seed grows. And when the seed grows, when bhakti becomes sufficiently mature, the seed grows to a substantial stature, then Bhagavan, Bhakti bestows Bhagavan, the rati for Bhagavan. Bhakti bestows love for Bhagavan. Then he begins this Anucheda by making reference to a verse that's shown from the picture. It's a chapter 7 of Canto 7, where Prahlad is giving instructions to his classmates. In Anucheda 57, he quotes the verse. And then in 141, he quotes the verse. So here's what he says. Jiva Goswami writes in Anucheda 57. Without relying upon any other system for purification, bhakti alone has the power to uproot the seed of karma. Fruitive activity. So the six, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarja, those six are in the category of the seed of karma. So karma tendency, the seed for those six, bhakti alone, without relying upon any other thing, has the power to uproot them. That's what this 7:733 verse is saying. Devotees who have uprooted the seed of karma do not give up their involvement in devotion even after attaining the perfected stage. In fact, such devotees do not do anything other than bhakti. So it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's something very similar. Something very similar is in Sanatana Shiksha section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where, similar to the morning discussion, Lord Chaitanya is discussing with Sanatana Goswami the bhakti process, and he starts the bhakti process by describing the samasti, the sum total of all living entities. And in some of those sum total of all living entities, some come to the human form of life, so it's a pyramid. And that those in the human form of life, some are civilized. And then those that are civilized, they follow the varnashram system. Then the pyramid keeps going up and up. And then amongst those who are following the varnashram system, some may become devotees. And then he explains in detail, becoming a devotee means one gets the association of a devotee. And then verses and verses and verses to verify. And then he keeps going up and going up. And then the perfected stage, Lord Chaitanya says, and in that perfected stage, association devotees is still imperative. It's not an option. It's imperative, which is similar to what's being said here. So 7:733 is the verse. We'll show you the verse shortly. Quoted in Anucheda 57, and then Anucheda 141 is going to say something else in addition. But bhakti causes bhakti. And bhakti has the power to uproot anything in the material sphere. It is bhakti alone that is then enacted by them. So that's 57. Here's the verse. And the Shad Vargai, that's the 6 faults. Evam Nirjita Shad Vargai, Kriyate Bhaktir Ishware, Vasudeve Bhagavati, sounds familiar. Yaya Samlabhyate Ratihi, so there's the Ratihi. If anyone prosecutes his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, that's how Prabhupada has translated it in the both in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, and the same verses referred to in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the same translation. So the emphasis, because the color coding means, I wanted to focus this class on what does in full Krishna consciousness mean? What does that mean? What does it not mean? And it's in Anucheda 141. what it means and what it doesn't mean, in full Krishna consciousness, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. Then gradually he develops rati. Now, it's not covering this because it's in another undershade, but in the Bhagavatam, the very next verse, that is 7.734, in Prahlad's teachings to his classmates, he speaks of bhava bhakti. One who achieves what's in 33 reaches bhava bhakti. And the symptoms of hair standing on end and body trembling and the symptoms of bhava bhakti are manifest in the person described in verse 33. So it's very important to execute devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. And what does it mean? So Jiva Goswami, spends a fair amount of pages in this undershade about what does bhakti without laxity mean, or in full Krishna consciousness. In full means without laxity. Madhumati asked a similar question in the Bhagavatam class yesterday morning. Not exactly that, but something similar. What about people that stop? That's more than laxity. That's stop. That's stop. So laxity is you diminish. So then it's like from, even in the sadhana stage, the sadhaka that's in full consciousness of Krishna is without laxity. Bhakti without laxity. And to illustrate this, he gives several examples. Here's one example. This is a nice painting of Krishna, and he's with the Pandavas. And here's the verse. I'll read the translation because it's a nice translation. Verse number 18, chapter 6. So it's Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, here's the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda, is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasty. He is your spiritual master, worshipable deity, friend, and the director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he worked just as ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him. So this is Jiva Goswami being the lawyer building his case. And the case is this: it's rare. Bhava bhakti is rare, sudurlabha. It's one of the characteristics of the three stages. Rupa Goswami's teaching, sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti. Three broad topics. So this is touching on the bhava bhakti stage. But to get to the bhava bhakti stage, there has to be in full Krishna consciousness or with no laxity. So here's the commentary on that verse that we just read. Sometimes Bhagavan does not award rati or bhava in cases where there is some laxity of intention. Within the sadhaka. Now think about the practical application of this. Like chanting our japa every day. Or anything else that we do in our activities of devotion aside from chanting japa every day. And we always do something because we're active. Souls are active. And then there's an intention behind what we do. So we're sadhakas, so the activity is in relation to sadhana bhakti. So we're in the sadhana bhakti stage, but there may be laxity. Intermittent, sometimes. That's laxity. So Bhagavan does not award rati sometimes in cases where there's laxity of intention. And then Jiva Goswami goes on to explain, however, Bhagavan may, even when there's laxity, may eventually award rati even to the practitioner who was initially lax in his devotion if he continues to perform bhakti for a long time, if he gradually overcomes this laxity. Small if, right? So that there's a price for entrance into bhava bhakti, or to what real bhakti is, as opposed to, what it looks like real bhakti, but it's not what real bhakti is. Back to the definition of what bhakti really is. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, without jnana and karma. And the BBT, to purport to this verse 5, 6, 18, in this way one's life becomes perfect and his attachment for Krishna becomes positively manifested. Now this is, it's 7:733 purport. So this is Prabhupada's purport, 7:733 purport. By following in full Krishna consciousness, his attachment for Krishna becomes positively manifested. Provided this without laxity. That's Jiva Goswami's contribution, main message here. Then he goes on, making reference to the definition of bhava bhakti, and it has two characteristics, and one of them is sudurlabha. This is directly from Jiva Goswami's explanation, but it's directly a quote from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti is difficult to attain in two ways. First of the two, if undertaken in abundance but without genuine attachment to Krishna, bhava bhakti cannot be attained, even after a long time. Sound familiar? Second, difficult to attain. Even if practiced with such attachment, Krishna does not award bhakti with rati to the practitioner immediately. Patiently. So Rupa Goswami's teaching, or Raghunath Das Goswami's teaching, persistently. All of the teachers of the teachings of yoga, what to speak of bhakti yoga, requires that one stays focused for a prolonged period of time without an expectation. How do you do that? We expect that without an expectation, the bell's going to ring. We have that. Otherwise, why are we doing what we're doing? We have faith, but faith is not resting upon, some icing on the cake or carrot at the end of the stick or something. It's rare. Then Jiva Goswami goes on, quoting another verse from the same chapter. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, you cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect brahmanas, demigods, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning, because these are all nice qualities. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord. Again, thinking of the definition of what bhakti is. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, that's it. Nor by charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows can one satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to Him. Now, those are nice words. And how do you get there? And that's the lead verse for Anucheda 141 and for 57. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show. This is Prahlad to his classmates. Taking this verse, Jiva Goswami goes on, pointing to a reference still spoken by Prahlad from the 7th canto section, where the Gajendra Moksha story is referred to. And the Gajendra Moksha story reference is, one may possess wealth and aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, etc., etc. But I think that even all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. Simply by devotional service, with a qualifier. I mean, so faith in devotional service, yes. And then there's a qualifier. One way is without laxity, or another way is in full Krishna consciousness. And then stay there. Not sometimes, sometimes not. And then another reference from the 5th canto, chapter 19. The Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at His own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. And that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. Now this is back to the topic from the morning. This person being spoken of is a devotee. But supposing the devotee is a mixed devotee. Kara Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. They're engaged in devotional service, but they got a mix. So the exception, there's the rule and there's the exception. The Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at His own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. So he's Kara Mishra, Gyan Mishra. He's got a desire, like Dhruva. Big time Karma Mishra Bhakti. And the Lord satisfied all his desires. He may do that. There's not a rule that he's violating. He may do that. But he doesn't have to. And if through this bhava bhakti stage, for this price or eligibility or qualification necessary to get the fullness of Krishna's mercy, the fullness of what bhakti provides, the opportunity that bhakti provides, Krishna has the capacity. So back to, there's another illustration showing the same. The highest position that anyone can reach in life is to serve His lotus feet. Then we certainly heard a lot about this with the Kaliya Damana Lila, the mercy from his achieving the lotus feet, the dust from the lotus feet of the personality of God. There's nothing higher. But bhakti alone causes Bhagavan to bestow rati, or bhava, upon his devotee. So bhakti with a qualification. Now I chose this particular. That's it. I'm not. This is a shorter class. The commentary in this Anucheda is multiple pages. And there's more detail. But rather than going into the detail and further detail, the principle is the most important one as far as what moved me to speak on this topic is the principle of achieving the bhava stage of bhakti, or beyond sadhana that seems to be endless. You know, having taken part in many japa retreats, and I'm going to go offline from the actual Anucheda and just the application of it. How many devotees, how many times have taken part in japa retreats, and how many devotees have been chanting for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and how many feel that they've achieved what they had some anticipation and expectation at the very outset of taking up the process or chanting and bhakti in its general sense. And you're not going to get a lot of people raising their hand. So why is that? Or what to do about why and what to do? Like crime, why and what to do? Why and what to do? So it's with laxity. So how to move from laxity to no laxity? And Krishna will help, but supposing we don't have that focus. I was reading, I think I shared this, but I don't mind sharing it again. It's related. In this Monday morning, I'm going to be giving a class to the Chinese devotees, and there's a whole description of the churning of the milk ocean and what happened when the demons headed by Bali Maharaj took over Indra's palace. Canto 8. And when they just usurped the heavenly realm, not only Indra's palace, but the whole of the Rakshasa demons took over the heavens. And Aditi was beside herself with distress because those are her sons. Many of the demigods are her sons, including Indra, headed by Indra. So she went to her husband. What to do, what to do? And her husband gave a solution. The Payavrata ritual. And the Payavrata ritual required this and that and the other thing. And she arranged this and that and the other thing. And then she sat in meditation, unchanging, without laxity, kind of meditation on the personality of Godhead. And then the personality of Godhead appeared before her. Lord Vishnu came before her and said, I'll take care of it. I'll become your son. So, Vamanadev. And Vamana came to the Bali and did what he did. And so that's a motivated, that's an example of devotion to Lord Vishnu that has a material motive. I want my sons to get their kingdom back and their opulences, which were taken by Bali and the rest of the Rakshasa armies. They were just overwhelmed, the demigods. So the demigods fled. So bhakti mixed, but this reference. Whoops. From Canto 5, Chapter 19. The Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. So even when it's mixed, so the force of this is now the topic is not just getting back kingdoms and things like that or material desires. It's about achieving the purpose of bhakti, which we're engaged in. So how does bhakti begin? That's it. We heard that topic described with some detail and from different angles. And now once bhakti begins, then what? Practice bhakti. Sadhana bhakti. And then what? So we have this nice ISKCON phrase going back to Godhead. And that, because it's Prabhupada's phrase and it's something he encouraged all of us to return to our original position. The somehow or other we got here is to be reversed and go back to Godhead through bhakti. So we have faith, so we do. And how long? Sadhana bhakti, and then around the corner is bhava bhakti. It's just waiting. So these references is even with prolonged performance, one may not be doing that performance with sufficient focus or in a mood of laxity. And then who knows how long that can take? How many lifetimes of back to Godhead aspiration or fulfillment of the purpose of bhakti. So I'm going to end. I selected this section because I felt it was particularly relevant. With scriptural references to indicate that's it. And there are other attributes, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvayar ganesh tatra samasute. So all the good qualities of the demigods are manifest in the body of a person. We're just hearing Prabhupada speaking about that, a recording of course, just this morning. But like the comment that was made about meeting the devotees, I don't know her name. Next, Damayanti. Your comment. Yes, you. I want to respond to your comment. Indranila. Sundari Leela. Got it. Sundari Leela. As you were speaking, I was thinking of a situation that I've been dealing with of late with somebody from another country. I don't need to say which country. But, they were they're meeting such nice devotees. And then they ran into some briar patch. The temple president was harsh. And consistently harsh. And then, the assistant to the temple president was like the temple president. So she checked out because it wasn't, what you experienced. No, Tamahar shared, he also had some of that too along the way, but he was already at the point of, he and his wife at the point where Prabhupada's a place of shelter. In other words, the transcendental shelter is from one who is a transcendentalist. And we're supposed to be representatives of a transcendentalist. And so sometimes and sometimes not. You just hang around for a while. It's sometimes and sometimes not. Sometimes and sometimes not. And we would like to be the transcendentalist. So that's bhakti without laxity. So that's not just our attainment, but it's representing others and being able to deliver Krishna. So back to the title. Oh, come on. Bhakti bestows love for Bhagavan. So let us be bearers of that bhakti that bestows love of Bhagavan by representing. And there's an eligibility to be able to do that. It's sadhana is nice, but sadhana may be incomplete. And then sometimes and sometimes, residual stuff that we carry with us that's not replaced by transcendental. So there's a big responsibility because bhakti bestows love for Bhagavan. So that invites the social commentary kind of question. So let's see if there's some discussion. What's our... It's 10 minutes after 12. Okay, half hour, 35 minutes. Okay. Give to the senior devotee over here.
Senior by age. Okay. You spoke of eligibility, but then the next statement you made was sadhana is nice, as if to say that's not what makes one eligible to be an instrument.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
If that's how it was taken, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
It's a qualifier. It's sufficient. It's nice, but there's a qualifier.
How the sadhana is performed.
Yeah, how it is done.
What quality of sadhana?
Yeah, quality.
Okay.
Qualifier.
Not lax.
Yeah, not laxity.
Okay.
Or, his in full Krishna consciousness. Go ahead.
Mataji actually kind of touched on a similar point. I was just wondering if our sadhana is not the only thing that I'm not sure if I understood correctly. So I was under the impression, Maharaj, you said that if we just do sadhana, it may be imperfect. They are like residual from our lifetimes in the material world. That's not really purified. Like it's just there. Would you say then the other thing that we must do is like service? So if we are doing service, it's orientated towards others.
No, bhakti includes service. Bhakti is service.
Sure.
So it's not separate.
Oh, so that's also sadhana. Like service is part of sadhana.
Yeah, sadhana bhakti is bhakti. Bhakti is service.
Oh.
You're practicing not just chanting. You're practicing sadhana. You're practicing service.
Oh, so everything comes under actually the umbrella of service.
It's not just chanting. It's everything. Bhakti.
Okay. Thank you.
Taking prasadam. That's bhakti.
Okay.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, that was very nice. My sadhana is not so good, but you were mentioning about how the mother of the demigods wanted to regain the kingdom, and I find it really clever reading that canto he instructed the demigods to not.
This is, you're going back now, before this happened with Aditi.
Yes, yeah. So he instructed after Aditi was able to bring the Lord to instruct.
Bali.
But anyway, it reminded me. I was recently in Delhi. I went to the Akshardhan temple there, and there's a very amazing sculpture of the demigods and the demons
Churning the milk.
churning the ocean of milk, and it's amazing how that whole process of working with Krishna, how he arranges everything to help the devotees.
It's a pretty amazing section of the Bhagavatam. So just appreciating that you have a photograph of that sculpture.
They don't.
They don't allow it.
They actually do not allow any kind of even your watch. You have to take your watch off. No phones are allowed in the place. If anyone ever has a chance to go there, they also have this amazing diorama where you actually get in a boat.
And do what?
You go through all these different dioramas that shows the Vedic culture.
Uh-huh.
It's fantastic. Apparently, the devotees from the Delhi temple helped them to build that, and their execution of it. They have the funds that are just amazing for producing this stuff. These dioramas, the whole temple complex is amazing. Of course, actually the main temple, it's a little hard because they have pardon me? Swami Narayan he's the big deity, and then all the other deities are surrounding them. But I kind of overlook that part of it. But still, those dioramas are just like, wow! It's like it really comes alive.
Yeah. So much money.
They're in New Jersey.
Yeah. They have so much money, but how much bhakti do they have?
Well,
Unlimited money.
The Swami Narayan folks are in New Jersey. Okay.
yeah.
The diorama, they brought the portable diorama.
No,
They built their own. Number 2.
yeah,
Okay.
the best.
Okay. Tamahar.
I just wanted to make one comment. You mentioned about when you mentioned Prahlad Maharaj,
Yeah.
and you said that devotional service, that when he was speaking when he was telling them about devotional service, and how you said that everything else is pretty much just for show. I really like that quote
Okay.
you mentioned.
Hare Krishna. Just a couple things. One, in terms of service and its effects, in the section on Padma Sevana, Jiva Goswami says that, through service one can reach samadhi. It's he just kind of says that in the middle of things, that one can reach the highest destination just through one's service as well. So it is very important. Of course, he puts a lot of emphasis on hearing, hearing, chanting, remembering, but the service is very, very critical. The other thing I was thinking is that if we look at the 9 processes of devotional service, when we go through all the anartha nivritti and trying to become purified, then we get to the stage of nishta. And nishta is steadiness, right? And I was thinking that's similar to the not being lax.
Yeah.
Lax. In other words, one is very steady, and then the next stage is rati.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, that's when all the good stuff happens. In other words, sometimes it might seem like a lot of work, doing all, Krishna conscious, doing all these things, although it should be joyful along the way, we hope. But when one reaches that point that you're talking about, then it's like so much mercy is there and so much bliss, enjoyment, rati is shakti. Then it's like, bhava prema, and our acharyas act like these processes happen very quickly. Now, most of us don't seem to experience that quite in the same way, but, it can, it can go very quickly.
It's a qualifier.
Yeah. And then I was thinking also of, you're talking about the kind of the Krishna giving us a little bit of allowance for our, lack of being completely purified and not being at that stage that you're talking about.
Mixed devotion.
Yeah, and of course the one verse where Krishna says, even if a devotee has some material desires, he says, I will grant those desires. He said, but not in such a way that they continue.
Yes.
In other words, he'll do it in such a way to help purify us so
Yes.
that we get beyond those material things and continue on the path.
Nice. Look at the back row back there. There's like a lot of hands. Madhumati, you're the hand I saw first.
So, Maharaj, you're mentioning this is about in full Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
So, we are performing sadhana bhakti, so we don't have the love. And yet, so the love Krishna gives at the rati stage, he gives us. So, at this stage, what does it mean in full Krishna consciousness? Just performing, chanting our rounds and trying to do the best? I guess I don't know what that laxity means without laxity. I mean, I understand the language of it.
Well, another word for, let me respond. Another word that Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses besides laxity is slackening. Here's another common phenomena. Try it sometime when you have an audience. How many have experienced in the beginning of Krishna consciousness is like zoom, 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 zoom. And then something happens over some time. The zoom isn't the same anymore. What happened? Slackening. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's phrase is slackening in submission. So submission unto whom? Submission unto the representative of Krishna, because the representative of Krishna delivers Krishna. So Guru and Krishna. But slackening of submission. Does that happen sometimes? That your question yesterday morning during class. It happens sometimes. And that sometimes it's not just slackening, it's check out. So the initial, and then for it to continue, it can happen quickly. Tamahar said it several times. It can happen quickly, but it can also, sag. And it was the operative principle. Utsahan nishchaya dayat. Rupa Goswami gives us that formula. So, or another way of saying this, I see your hand in the back, Mataji. I see you. We'll get to you. Just hang on. So, nishtha, steadiness. So the whole Madhurya Kandambani gives that whole description of how is that achieved? How is that nishtha stage achieved? And there's things in between us and this nishtha stage. There's unwanted things, anartha things. And we have to address them. So bhakti has the power to address them, but there has to be the strong determination and faith and many other nice qualifiers to stay steady even when there's setbacks, or even when something. And that's one of the tests of one's bhakti is Krishna gives you a setback, and what are you going to do? Go ahead.
In other words, we remain
In the relationship.
fanatics.
Not fanatics.
No, I know it
Faithful.
doesn't mean that.
Faithful.
But I was thinking, initial days, it almost was like, I guess super enthusiasm, super everything. But the idea, what you're saying, Maharaj, is we need to
To sustain.
sustain.
Sustain means with faith.
Yeah.
And whether, it's super fanatical or it's just with faith. The super fanatical is not sustainable. So sustainable. So what should I do? What should you do? What should each of us do to get to that stage where this little Anucheta is being described? What Prahlad is saying to his classmates, where rati is bestowed. The real thing is handed to us. And besides just the practice with faith, the real thing is there. We're eligible for it with faith.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Behind you.
Thank you, Maharaj. You did explain it so well. But my concern was that in spite of all the acceleration,
In spite of all the what?
the acceleration that one might have
Acceleration?
Yes.
Oh, that's a nice word.
in terms of bhakti, it might appear that they're, like you said, zoom first and then all of a sudden slow down. My question was with regard to the karmas. We have certain things that we have to go through in life
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So when that comes through and comes as a disturbance in between, you may call it a test or you may call it karma.
We'll call it different
and it
things.
kind of just puts a break in, appears to put a break. So my question is, to what extent do we have control over it
None.
in the process?
You have the internal
Yeah.
will, that much you have control over. No one can check that.
Yeah.
No one can start it, no one can stop it. But
And
the brake pedal, you don't have control over.
yeah, so when karma is stepping in and there's
No,
illusion,
no.
how do we?
I'm going to edit your preamble. Karma doesn't step in. Karma doesn't step in. There's residual karma, yes, but karma doesn't step in. It's another energy besides the material energy that you've stepped into. No, it's like this example that Ragamika gave of coming before Krishna Balaram and lay your heart open. Krishna Balaram, please give me a solution. So, you're in the internal. Bhakti means you're no longer under the care of the external energy, unless you're intermittent. Sometimes, sometimes not. But so if you or I or any one of us stay, karma can't just raise its ugly head and clobber us. It's not how it works. The internal energy is working.
I'm trying to understand the exact definition of intermittent and all consciousness, full Krishna consciousness.
Here's the distinction. Sometimes, sometimes not.
So what does one do when they're slacked or intermittent in and out? How does one
Keep good
them?
association. Sadhu Sangha. Stay in good association. And your good association friend will tap you on the shoulder and say, my dear friend, you're falling asleep at the wheel. Look out for the ditch. See, good association is that kind of person who can help you like that. The door is open. You're not like saying, "What do you mean?" They're a friend. They're a real friend. They're real loving, well-wishing friend to tap you on the shoulder. Do it nicely, but so that you don't fall into the ditch and don't become lax and don't stay birth after birth because you're being a nice devotee that's intermittent. Good association. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. So I'm teaching, at the same school with Damayanti and Sri Vrindavan, and it's a public school, so there's no overtly giving Krishna consciousness.
Fine.
So, but we've seen over the years how sometimes the students or even the parents, they take an interest in Krishna. And so I'm wondering, I know there's prasadam, they get prasadam, and we really see like the potency there. It's very potent. But I'm wondering what else there is, and I don't know if it's related to this, because you mentioned like the temple president, the poor behavior and how it affected the devotee that you were speaking about. So I'm wondering about, is it also like kind of the good behavior?
Yes.
I don't know if that's a mundane.
Yes.
No. Yes?
No.
Okay.
Yasyasti bhaktir bhakti. So if you exhibit and consistently, not intermittently, but consistently have these good qualities, somebody I've had this asked, like, what's with you? So I'll give just a little example. But you're a teacher, so you know what it means to teach. You don't just stand in front of the class and pontificate. You're modeling bhakti to the students and to the teachers, and people will ask, like, I have Christian friends, but you're different. Now besides you're good, but you're different. Like, what's with you? They may not say it like that, but that's a question. Their curiosity is perked because of your character, your manner of speech, and the consistency of everything. Like this Mataji was saying earlier about what it helped her become convinced. But then it's not just mode of goodness stuff. It's bhakti stuff. And you be consistent. So it's conveyed. Bhakti is conveyed. That's one of the ways beside prasadam. And you have to be careful, mind your P's and Q's, and you don't break the rules, or you lose your job. Or you're in the supervisor's office and they're saying, look, with finger shaking, you can't do this. You're a good person. Please understand, you can't do this. So you're not getting that treatment from supervisors. So it's subliminal or just character, the influence. Consistent. So here's an example. I sometimes have international travel every now and then. And I'm busy, because I can't sleep in planes. So I just, I leave stuff for myself to do, and I'm just busy. And the flight attendants come by and see me being busy, like, what's with you? And then sometimes I say, do you really want to know? And they go like this. Yeah, I really want to know. That's why I'm asking. Then gently, little. And then, you have a small book or two to say, here's a gift. And then I don't eat their meals. Like, what's with you? So you conduct your life as a devotee conducts their life. And some people are going to notice. And some people, it's watered off a duck's back and they're not going to pay any attention anyways because of the modes of nature that they're operating in their life. But somebody may remember. I want to tell a little story, but she wants to raise her hand. So you give her the microphone and I'll tell a little story at the end. Go ahead.
Oh, I just had to confirm your words because I work in the same school and maybe I shared but I work with professors from UF, and she came to visit. We had project in my classroom, and she said, "What's up with this school? You guys are so different." And so next time when she came, it was Radhashtami, and I told her that we have festival at the temple. So she wanted to go and see it. So she came and she visited, she took Charanamrita. She said she didn't feel well, but after the cup of Charanamrita, she said, I felt so much better. And she said she's actually from South Korea. And she said, that's why your school is successful, because you have this in the background.
Yeah, so it can be gradual, but then it's long lasting because you move their heart. So that's what you're after. I mean, may you live a long life and be a long-lived teacher, because it's going to impact people in a way that's not, it's easy to measure, but it's happening. Bhakti acts along with prasadam. Damayanti wants to add something.
I wanted to go back to the laxity.
Okay.
In my notes, I don't remember why I wrote it, but I put laxity of intention. And I was thinking also, I'm trying to tie this together, so be patient. One of the things I love about the Prahlad pastime is that he has full shelter, and so he has no fear at all. Like, if I was going to be thrown in boiling oil, I would, he had no fear because he had full shelter. So, you also talked about the internal energy and the external energy.
Yeah.
So, when we're in the external energy, thinking we're the body, even though intellectually we know we're not our body. But when we're thinking that, then we do have the fear, like Prahlad didn't have that.
Yes.
And then when we have that fear, our intentions can be
Cuckoo.
focused on our bodily needs, or so the to get to the stage of not having laxity, the intent has to always be pure. Not to.
This is what's on the screen here. Yeah.
Not to take, be focused on the external thinking. You're the body, and I think, just from all our conditioning, it's so hard to do that at times.
So this is not a question; it's a comment.
I was just trying to tie things
it's
together.
Not easy to overcome laxity because of the material force of bodily conception and I and mine and all of that stuff that just goes with the package of material life that we're so familiar with.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the ropes that has us bound up in material existence, and even we're practicing bhakti for a long time using the same language that Jiva Goswami uses. It's somehow we don't seem to be making the kind of progress we could be making, that we had anticipation. I would be making, by this time, such and such. And then there's at some point a rude awakening, like, what's going on? Or what am I not doing right? Or is there something wrong with the process, or something or other, rather than looking within. Okay, we have 6 minutes. You haven't raised your hand yet, so go ahead. And then you're next.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much. It's very chewy food for thought, all of this. I think it's something that I will have to ruminate over for some time.
Nice and short, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very elegant, the way that you did this. So I really appreciate that. My question is, you were speaking on how one of the ways to make sure that we attain, not slackening and not going into laxity is through sadhu sangha. But what if your service is to work with people who to work with devotees who are in that stage, and for just out of circumstance, there aren't a whole lot of people around who actually are in that stage of steadiness? Like, what do you have any suggestions for how to keep yourself from, water reaches the lowest point? There's like some sort of principle. Do you have any suggestions or on how to maintain your own level of steadiness when your association is growing, and
Sure. If you're not used to hearing my classes, but those that are used to hearing my classes know what my answer is going to be. 2 words. Sadhu Sangha. No, but I, each of us need certain persons with whom we regularly make connection, and they're in the sadhu category. And not everybody's in that sadhu category. They're sadhakas, but they're not necessarily in the sadhu category where they're what you described. There's few and far between. Or whatever, that's okay. Make those connections and do it with some regularity. It doesn't have to be like, it's not obsessive. It's not like, this example of, fanaticism, the early day fanaticism, super fanaticism, but, just somebody who's very steady and fixed, and they're clear what their mission in life is and what the bhakti, and you connect with them. And then you take strength from that sangha and you go into this other area that you're speaking about and smile. Carry that bhakti shakti with you and keep smiling. And a little bit like what they're saying about these teachers, you just model it with those that aren't there. And they see, wow, you look happy. Not only you look happy today, but you're happy happy yesterday, and you're going to be happy tomorrow. You radiate that. So I want that. Some people are going to say something else.
I have just a brief follow-up, which is that is that enough to shift a culture of laxity?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. Look what Prabhupada. Anyone, any gifted sadhu has that gift. They can give it. They're careful to whom and how and to what extent and who's fit recipient and not overwhelm people or anything like that. But so that yes, it's just sufficient. You get the last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class and wonderful discussion. I was just, because English is my second language, so I was checking the meaning of laxity in the dictionary.
Okay.
It says lack of strictness or care, or lack of discipline also. So my question is somewhat you have mentioned already, but if you can expand on it, is the full Krishna consciousness, can that come by just following the instructions of the Guru? Does that lead to full Krishna consciousness? Because there is laxity, but then if we stick to the principles of following the instructions, then can automatically laxity comes?
Yes. Because strict following doesn't mean it's from the heart. And therefore, if it's not from the heart, in course of time, it may slacken. Strict following can slacken. Unless it's that they're connecting to the person, it's bhakti. Unless you're connecting to the person from whom the instruction comes, and who that person is connected to, who's giving instructions about, connecting with Krishna. So Guru and Krishna principle. Let me ask you, have you seen, the answer to the question is yes. Have you seen persons who they're like zoom, 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 Where'd they go? Strict followers. Or they maybe not like just snap your fingers and poof, they disappeared. But they fade. Strict following. So the answer to your question is one can be a strict follower and still fade. So that's not sufficient. Bhakti is sufficient.
So it's strict sadhana and strict following.
Well, you looked in the dictionary, you found 3 meanings. So it's not the first one, it's the second one.
Care.
Yes. Relationship. And then the strengthening, resting upon that relationship, then it can endure. When the relationship is a genuine, back to her question, when the relationship is a genuine relationship, it will endure. It doesn't fade. It doesn't slacken.
Thank you much.
Okay. We're going to end. What's next? Who's our MC?
Hare Krishna. So we'll be having lunch prasadam served now. And we'll resume our class at 4:15. 4:30 or 4:30. I mean 4:15 to 4:30 will be kirtan, and then at 4:30 we'll have
4:15 kirtan.
Yes,
4:30 class.
Yes, Maharaj. 4:40. I'm sorry. 4:30 is the kirtan and 4:45 is the class.
Okay.
So we'll have 15 minutes kirtan.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. So
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.